When Clara met David, she wasn't looking for love. After a bitter divorce and years of building a life on her own, she had grown skeptical of grand gestures and poetic promises. She had learned that words, while beautiful, were often empty. But David was different, not because he said all the right things, but because of the quiet, consistent way he showed his love. It started small. On their second date, he noticed she rubbed her hands together when they were cold. So the next time they met, he brought her gloves. Not expensive ones, not flashy, just soft, warm, thoughtful. She hadn't mentioned being cold. He had simply paid attention. That was the first sign. Real love, Clara learned, wasn't loud. It wasn't overwhelming or controlling. It wasn't about roses on Valentine's Day or dramatic declarations. Real love showed up, quietly, repeatedly, in ways that were easy to overlook unless you knew what to look for. David did 12 things, 12 simple yet powerful things that slowly unraveled the walls around her heart. Not because he was trying to impress her, but because that's how men act when they love for real. First, he listened, really listened. When Clara talked, David didn't interrupt or jump in with solutions. He leaned in, eyes steady, and let her speak until her words ran out. He remembered the small details too, the name of her boss, her fear of driving in the snow, her favorite childhood book. And months later, he'd reference those things without prompting. Second, he made her feel safe, not just physically but emotionally. When she was vulnerable, when she shared her doubts, her guilt, her fears, he never minimized them or told her to cheer up. He held space for them. He made her feel that her feelings mattered, that they weren't too much to carry. Third, he protected her peace. Clara had been in relationships that thrived on drama, on tension, on endless cycles of hurt and apology. David didn't play those games. He didn't raise his voice or weaponize silence. He chose calm. He chose clarity. He was the kind of man who left situations better than he found them, including her heart. Fourth, he prioritized her. Not just in words, but in action. He rearranged his schedule when she had a rough day. He showed up to events that mattered to her. He made it clear, not through grand speeches, but through consistent effort, that she was important. She wasn't fighting for his attention. She already had it. Fifth, he respected her independence. He didn't try to change her or fix her. He loved that she was strong, that she had her own opinions, her own career, her own voice. He didn't feel threatened by her strength. Instead, he admired it. And when she succeeded, he celebrated her fully, with no trace of insecurity. Sixth, he was patient with her wounds. Clara had baggage, like everyone. And sometimes fear would sneak in. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of being abandoned. David never mocked her for it. He didn't tell her to get over it. He stayed, gently, reassuringly. He showed her that healing didn't have to be rushed. Seventh, he was proud of her, not in a loud, boastful way, but in the quiet moments, when he'd introduce her to his friends with a soft smile, when he'd tell her how much he admired her courage, or when he'd stand in the back of a room like watching her speak, eyes glowing like he'd won something rare. Eighth, he asked for her opinion and valued it, whether it was about decisions big or small, finances, vacations, dinner plans. He asked what she thought. He didn't treat her input as optional. He treated it as essential. He made her feel like an equal, not an accessory. Ninth, he was emotionally available. He didn't bottle things up or retreat behind a wall of stoicism. He shared his thoughts, his fears, his hopes. He let her in, and in doing so, he made her feel closer to him than anyone ever had. 10th, he took responsibility. When he made a mistake, he owned it. No excuses, no deflection, just an honest acknowledgement and a sincere effort to do better. Clara had been with men who couldn't say I'm sorry unless forced. David apologized without shame because his pride never came before their peace. 11th, he gave without keeping score. Whether it was time, affection, support, or small gestures of love, he never held it over her head. He gave because he wanted to, not because he expected something in return. And when she gave back, he received it with gratitude, not entitlement. And finally, 12th, he chose her every day, not just in the beginning when it was easy, but on the ordinary days too, when she was tired, when she was irritable, when life got busy. He stayed consistent. He didn't disappear when the honeymoon glow faded. He was there, still showing up, still loving, still choosing. Years later, after they were married and their lives had blended into a rhythm of shared mornings and slow evenings, Clara would sometimes sit and watch David as he read the paper or watered the plants or stirred soup on the stove. And she would remember. Not the first kiss, not the anniversary dinners, but the gloves on the second date, the way he remembered her fear of snow, the letters he wrote her when she doubted herself. That was love, the kind that doesn't beg to be noticed but changes everything when it's present, the kind that doesn't need to be shouted to be heard. And Clara knew, beyond the doubts, beyond the past, that she was cherished. Because when a man truly loves, you don't need to ask. You'll see it in the 12 quiet ways he shows up every single day.